Hello everyone and welcome to another fun-filled media review here at Manly Battleships YouTube channel. I'm Mr. Panda.
And I'm Roxstar.
We're going to be talking about The Orville Season 2 now that it is fully completed. So we're not just going to talk about like 2 episodes and call it a day. Whole season, yeah!
Which means, of course, there's going to be spoilers.
Spoilers! Overall, before we get to that, just one note. This is much better than Discovery. And significantly better than last season, which we already enjoyed. Which means, guess what? You should immediately drop what you're doing, wait for Roxstar to stop coughing, and go watch it.
Go watch it. Really. Go watch it. Go find a way to watch it. It's great.
So without any further ado, if you are here for the not spoilers, that's the end of the video.
Yep. It's really hard to talk about. I'm sorry, did I cut off your wings? Did I cut off your wings?
Nope.
It's really hard to talk about this last season of Orville without just major spoilers.
So much happens! So let's just jump into it. We got a couple different things that have happened in Season 2 that are kind of changes. We have one major cast member that's left. We have a couple secondary characters that have shown up and departed and may or may not still be around. Like, you got a couple of new crew members. In particular, the most important names that have left the show include good old Cassius.
Cassius, yep.
He came in as Lieutenant Commander Grayson. I can't remember her last name ever. Kelly's
Grayson.
BFF. That's
BFF?
the wrong.
That is the wrong. No.
He was also BFF.
Boyfriend.
That.
Relationship buddies.
Relationship buddies. This is not Star vs. the Forces of Evil. There's no such thing as breakup buddies. So Cassius came on. Cassius ended up leaving both because of the breakup and because I guess he just wanted to move on with his life and stop doing stuff on the Orville. Yep. Other major character that left is Alara, our chief of security. Was she chief of security? Yeah, she was chief of security. Yeah, I like how they just have like race stereotyped who's supposed to be chief of security. Like, oh, Laura left. Let's get someone else from the exact same race. Bingo! Diversity.
Well, I mean, there's that and... I'm sorry.
She's caught space plague.
Okay, now that I've stopped coughing, there's actually a convenient little plot thing about that. Remember when Alara was like, I know I'm young, but it's just that whenever somebody from my race comes into the armed forces, like the United Forces, they send us to security immediately. They just like...
Because we can throw people around.
Right, because they're stronger than everybody else.
That's actually, I think, where we left off in our first like preliminary review of the season was when she left, because that was like the big... The plot twist for the season. Well, or so we thought. We've cured Roxstar's space plague.
We were talking about the people who were leaving. We were talking about Alara and how that was the last point we did from our last review.
True.
So, I think Tala, who is her replacement, is pretty good.
Oh, I like her.
I like her too, but I feel like they didn't give her as much to do as Alara. Alara seemed like she was going to be a big playing character. And, like, I feel like they didn't know how we were going to accept Tala, so they just kind of placed her in some scenes. And this was really a Bortus season. Let's be honest. This was a Bortus season.
Well, I mean, Tala does get a major role in one specific episode, but yeah, you're right. Other than that, I don't think she does feature as, like, the main carry in any of the other episodes, other than that one where she's the love interest, which you can draw your own conclusions about that, I guess. But, yeah, like... Mocklands for days, incidentally, and in particular, Bortus.
Bortus and Clyden.
I mean, in the first video we did on this, we talked a little bit about the porn episode, marriage counseling,
porn episode,
and then divorce.
Just they are a very interesting bunch when it comes to their traditions. That
I think
comes later.
hands down, tobacco addiction is my favorite thing. Moclan predisposition to tobacco smoking is probably my favorite thing in the whole season.
Oh my god, yeah, they get in contact with a time capsule from, what year was it? I forget what year it was supposed to be, like 2014
Contemporary
or something.
with us.
Contemporary, yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, in that time capsule was cigarettes, and...
This is delightful! And then they're stuck smoking 100 cigarettes a day. You know?
And Topa has to get taken away because they're worried about him getting, like, addicted and secondhand smoke and stuff.
Well, it's actually hilarious because, if you like, one of the controversies in that whole secondhand smoke thing for a while was the fact that the studies that they used to establish secondhand smoking as harmful relied upon. I read this. Like, I was staring at it because it had a little line. This is based off of people who smoke 40 cigarettes a day. And I was like, who does that?
Moclans. I mean, how long was it? They couldn't go 10 minutes without a smoke.
Yeah.
Literally 10 minutes. And they were like, we need to have a smoke. And, like, the part where Clyden catches Bortus hiding cigarettes in all different spaces, it's like... the first time where Clyden actually eats the cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, this smells delightful. It's like, no, it is meant to be inhaled.
I think all interactions with Moclans are funny to that extent. But yeah.
The mating dance? This is just like songs from my mating dance. Come, we must dance!
We were talking about Bortus.
That is Bortus!
Okay, yeah, but that's Bortus and Clyden together. And man, how are they still together? How has Clyden not divorced him again? They are so weird together.
I actually think...
They're the definition of a toxic relationship.
No, I'm surprised Bortus hasn't, divorced him. Because I seriously thought that was what's going to happen.
He's staying with him for Topa.
Yeah,
for Topa.
Yeah, but I thought he was really close to killing Clyden after he was, like, really instilling into Topa the Moclan culture of hating females. And I'm like, oh my god, are we going to see another Moclan divorce? We did it. But we're not shown them going through more couples therapy, so I don't know how the heck they're working through all of that. Because one of them, Clyden, really wants to be Moclan through and through. And
teaching Topa to hate the women's.
And Bortus just isn't about that life anymore. He's seen how toxic it is. Because it's not just...
He learned from Rudolph!
It wasn't just about hating females. They also hate Moclans who have a sexual attraction to females. Because that's brought up later.
Well, yeah. Well, that in general... That's obviously, though, tied to the existing deviancy, which is like, we're all men. We only like...
men.
Moclan men. We are men, Moclan men. We are men, Moclan men.
Are you trying to sing "We're Men, Men in Tights"?
No, there's a. How have you not seen?
Parody song.
How have you not seen? How have you not seen the Manslayer video? We are men, manly men. Oh my goodness! Right after this, we're watching that. So, since we're on that subject of Moclans in general, there's a couple different. What I'll call high points in this series, in this particular season, like episodes that are like not only important for the plot, but are just like really good TV writing. So one in particular deals heavily with Moclan society. There is a couple that comes on board.
Oh yes.
And it turns out they're hiding their infant, which is a girl child, and they are using the Orville as kind of like an
underground railroad.
That's a good one. Underground railroad. In order to get to a colony that's hidden away in a nebula of Moclan females. Because, as it turns out, Moclan females are still not super common, but they occur more frequently than many people are led to believe. So there's like a couple, at least several hundred, if not a few thousand, hanging out on this colony.
There's a good ton of them.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's still a very small amount of people, but it's enough that they've managed to form essentially their own society outside of traditional Moclan society. Something that the Moclans do not appreciate at all. It almost causes a civil war within the Federation. This is like right after they just go over the other high point episode, which we'll get to in just a second. But what are our impressions from this particular episode?
Oh my god, this episode was so good because it had the political tensions, but they had also tug at the heartstrings at the same time. And you have, like
how
action.
Dolly Parton gets a highlight. Dolly Parton is the voice of the revolution!
I'm telling you, the Mocklins seem to really hold on to the weird part of our society and, like, treasure it so much more than we do at times.
Novelty!
Like, yeah. I really enjoyed Havana, which is the leader of the female clan. We get to see her again. She was in season 1.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have her character come back and be like, yeah, no, I've been knowing about the Underground Railroad. I was the one who created it, and I've been the one making sure it's been safe, and I made the trip several times. And,
There is something that bothers me on that line that's maybe just like a small footnote nuance. Because I mean, like, she was, as you said, she was in season 1. She appeared in the arbitration between Bortus and why can I not remember his mate's name all of a sudden? Clyden. They're about Topa's conversion into a Mocklin male, and I was like, so how did you get from there to there when, like, has she always been heading the Underground Railroad resistance, or
yeah, that was the point. She's always been doing it, and so she's made.
I kind of missed that part. So.
She mentions that she's made the trip several times, so I think they just managed to catch her at a time she happened to be on the planet.
Well, that's an interesting thought. I thought it was interesting in general that, like, when they introduced her as a character in the first place, it's like the whole time she was secretly like this big philosopher in Mocklin culture.
I think that's why she makes the trip. She probably goes there, writes some philosophy stuff, and then, like, what I want to know is how she gets it published.
Well, I mean, clearly everyone assumed that her pen name, at least, was male.
So she must have some men that know she's a female.
I mean, you could put it down to something similar to almost certain. Well, I mean, it really is like the exact same thing as what happens, kind of like in. I keep bringing it up, the Enderverse. Where, you know, in the initial one, you have the two siblings of the main character who are still on Earth. Their whole subplot is about pretending to be adults on the internet. Mm-hmm. Which sounds really ridiculous now that I actually verbalize that.
Sounds like what real kids do on the internet today.
But, you know, they're taken in as adults, just as Havana is taken in as this great Mocklin
philosopher.
Cultural figure, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, I mean, like, they don't go really far into it, but I got the impression that it was like, oh yeah, she's ironically laying down the entire basis of, this is why we are manly men.
And for me, the other thing is, like, seeing Bortus grow through this, because he was having his own subplot with how Clyden, this was the episode where he's having that trouble with Clyden and teaching Topa the ways of the Mocklin, and, you know, you need to hate females, and Topa, I think, I feel like that was left, the strings weren't really connected. Like, it's so nice to see him play nice with the females at the end.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, how did he get there?
We don't see the growth of his character go from, I hate females, I listen to Clyde and my dad, to, oh, I see what my father Bortus is saying.
Now, I'll say this. Maybe what they were getting at is that he didn't actually hate them in the first place. Maybe he was just parroting his parent. And I know that a lot of people bring this up in, like, the Facebook feed. You know, like, there is that suggestion that it's like kids don't start out hating anybody per se. Mm-hmm. It's a learned behavior. If he was neutral to begin with, maybe the issue was he was still at a stage where he just needed someone to tell him that that's not what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And since it was, you know, that early intervention, you could see him, oh yeah, when he's already been told, yeah, I don't have to put down women. I didn't actually want to put her down in the first place. I was just doing what my dad wanted me to do.
Yeah, I could see that. That could be a way to
I mean, if we're gonna do like small little tie problems, I'm far more concerned about how Mocklin biology works. Since
eggs.
I know. Look, I get it. No one cares about this, and it doesn't actually matter. Just like Steven freaking Universe. All I'm saying is, if the males can breed together in the first place, there literally is no reason for there to be a female Mocklin. So why does one exist? I don't understand!
Well, I was I had pointed out that maybe there's something in their evolution that's shifting to having females because they have men who are getting attracted to females. So there's something in their evolution that's switching that to having Mocklins who want to have relations with females, and then females are born.
Occam's razor. The answer is this is meant to be social commentary. They didn't put that much thought into it.
Well, yes, I mean that is also true.
It's just slightly annoying for me.
I wonder if on that commune they have Mocklins who are falling in love with females, and if they're accepted there.
That's actually an interesting thing that I just now realized. They don't talk at all about relationships for the female Mocklins. I mean,
I think they're trying to avoid it because, a female don't need no man. But
I mean, probably, but like there's at least the implication that there have to be males there because the males are bringing the female kids. But we also don't get any indication that, other than that one-off, like we don't know how frequently male Mocklins get attracted to females, whether it be of their. We've never seen any attraction to the same species, Mocklin male, Mocklin female. It's been Mocklin male. I'm actually surprised they didn't come down on him because he just wanted to boing other species. Why isn't interspecies erotica a sin in Mocklin society?
Well, you don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe that's why they're not supposed to be attracted to females, because they're only supposed to be attracted to Mocklin males.
Oh, that would be a good blanket explanation. We are getting way too deep into this.
Yeah, we are getting way too deep. Well, it's because the Mocklins are so interesting to talk about, and just
Rudolph.
It's
all right.
Fascinating.
So that's a good episode. Another great episode is, of course, the one that I was surprised wasn't the end of the season, but turns out there was a reason for that, and that is the confrontation with Kalon. They end up...
Yep.
Isaac appears to malfunction. They take him... They get permission to go to Kalon. Kalon lets them in, and they find out, oh no, his mission was done. And now we're going to make a decision. And secretly, we're actually preparing an invasion fleet to wreck Earth.
And the way they find out is just entirely creepy. The one son who I can't remember his name.
The kid.
Claire's son, the younger one, gets really attached to Isaac, is convinced Isaac actually has feelings and actually loves him. So he goes down to the planet Kalon, and he gets trapped in like this underground catacombs. Yeah, catacombs is the best way to put it, because there's just a bunch of skeletons down there.
Very reminiscent of one of the early. Well, oh no, it did show up in Voltron. Like that was actually completely it's tangentially related. Like in Voltron, which is based off of Go Lion, there's this scene, and when I watched Voltron again, I was amazed that the scene was in the kids' version of this anime. It's like, oh yeah, they get out of the ship standing on a pile of skulls. I was like, okay.
You mean like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where Aang just walks in and like there's all.
Oh, that was super awkward in the Last Airbender movie.
That was really awkward in the Last Airbender. A lot of things were really awkward.
Everything's fine. Skulls. Oh, well, that's a tonal shift I wasn't expecting. That's anyway. So, it turns out that they had a war with biologicals on their own planet, the Creators.
The Creators.
And the Kalon AI is one, and now they just don't trust meatbags in general. They're like, oh yeah, meatbag, doesn't matter what kind of meatbag. That meatbag needs to die.
Well, they did base it off of the fact of our, like,
general violence tendencies.
Tumultuous history is what I was going to say.
Tumultuous history.
And Isaac tries to logic them out of it. But we find out that Isaac was built after the Creators. So he was actually built by the Kalons. And so they told him that he didn't live through it, so he doesn't understand it. Which I think
is an unusually human response.
I was going to say, it is unusually like, I feel like you were saying you guys don't have feelings, but that totally sounds like a feeling to me. I don't know if we have a word like vengeful or spiteful, but there's definitely a feeling there, and you can't act like you're not feeling something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's representative of their whole higher order species society and all that, but at the same time, I was also, I was thinking about that. And I don't know. I don't know if like they're going to touch on that whole issue again. Like, I'm actually not sure what's supposed to happen because we found out from later in the season that even if they're deactivated, technically they don't stop existing. Yeah. Which I thought was interesting. Because that means that... Does that mean that even after the events of the end of the season, is there still Kalon Prime running around out there with the same level of animosity and vengeance that they had when they invaded Earth?
Well, I mean, his consciousness is still in their conscious sphere, so it wouldn't surprise me if they just built him a new body so that he could inhabit it.
I was actually surprised that the Kalons in general had a sense of self, other than, like, as granted by the hive mind, because, like, obviously Isaac needed some level of autonomy to operate with humans. I was surprised to find out they're not a hive mind. They apparently really do have some kind of built-in consciousness, which is how Isaac is able to appear to develop, at minimum, feelings for other humans. Mm-hmm. And relationships. And sense of fatherhood.
I remember watching that, and if you haven't played through Mass Effect, this would be a spoiler, but it was very reminiscent of the
something in Mass Effect. This is not a Mass Effect spoiler video.
So I'm not allowed to spoil?
Alright, well, you need to skip like 30 seconds if you don't want the Mass Effect spoiler. Go.
This is very familiar of the Geth and the Quarian struggle that they have, too. It's literally like the same story arc, but put into a show. And I really like that for some reason. I like both the stories and the way each story took its own, like, because I won't spoil how it ends, because obviously your choices affect how that relationship ends in Mass Effect. But I like the way that Orville took this relationship too.
Incidentally, Claire's banging a machine.
Until she isn't.
Until she isn't, because then it's like, oh no, I don't know if I can forgive you right away. That's all right. Well, one day we will all... Man, Claire gets around.
Yeah, she does.
She has had sex with at least 3 species in her life. Humans, Yaphits, and
Yaphits.
And
he
robots.
He doesn't even get his own species.
I don't know what
his
species name is.
Well, I mean,
I don't think he does have a species.
I mean, to be fair, no, he does. It's just they don't name the species name.
He's a Yaphit. That's why we call him Yaphit.
He's what is it? He just needs to separate.
Which means that in terms of canonical evidence, Claire has actually had sex with more species than Kelly. Which is saying a lot.
Yeah, because she's only had sex with the blue alien guy, which I know they name him, but it's so few times I don't remember what it is. And let's be fair to Claire here. She was under the influence of that guy's hormone magic thing.
Kelly was, not Claire.
Claire was too. So was Claire and Yaphit. That's why he was affecting the whole ship.
Well, they were on drugs of some
kind.
Yeah,
he was affecting the whole ship, because it was Yaphit and Claire that were having that
you're right.
And then...
But Claire didn't have sex with the other alien. She had sex with Yaphit.
Well, yeah, because Yaphit is the one throwing off the... Like, he was affected, and so since he's been, like, ragging on her to be with him, they totally boned.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. And Space pen sexuality.
I mean, and then she technically had sex with a Kalon since they had to do it in the simulation room. He had to turn into a human to have sex with her in the simulation room.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They had...
And then he went around and told everybody so that he could get better tips on how to be a better lover.
Because Isaac's a bro. He won't leave his lady hanging. Speaking of, that can tie us into the next big episode, since we're talking about the simulator, and we have to talk about Gordon's obsession with someone in the past that comes up during the time capsule episode. So while Bortus is puffing away with Quiden over tobacco, Gordon discovers a cellular phone that basically encapsulates a large portion of this woman's life from back when the time capsule was sealed. He manages to revive all the data from it, and after a preliminary, like, finding her video, he's like, she's kind of interesting. I'm going to plug it into the simulator.
Yep, and so he, like, reverse engineers this program that actually brings her and her friend to life. And of course that comes with a few strings attached because this woman's already lived her life. Now he falls in love with her. But the problem is she's already kind of in love with somebody else. Like, I mean, they do end up together and he does end up sleeping with her, but she ends up leaving him to go with the person that she actually was dating according to the phone data.
And we're led to believe that probably happened IRL.
Right. And he tries to erase the guy so that he can continue having his relationship.
And turns out, look what happens when you change one itty-bitty thing.
It changes her whole personality. She was this singer. Well, not her whole personality. She was a singer.
I mean,
it
changes her life dramatically.
It does. She isn't ambitious about a singing career like she used to, which is one of the things that attracted him to her. She is like extremely shy. She only is ambitious for the job she has at the retail place that she previously said she didn't want to be at for the rest of her life. And I mean, it's just not the same.
And an interesting foreshadowing of the final episode, which I only really thought about just now.
What was the... Remind me, what are you talking about?
We're talking about the season finale, where they do time travel.
Oh yeah, they do time travel.
And it's weird, I didn't actually make that connection until just now, but yeah, it's almost like they were foreshadowing what happens in the episode right before the season finale, where...
Oh my god, yes it is, because they take one person out of... Okay, so this is major spoilers for the season finale.
If you haven't watched the season finale yet, this is all we're going to finish out the video with this. So now's the time to push stop.
Stop.
Still here? Good.
Okay.
Season finale. Bridges 2 episodes, basically.
Yeah, it's 2 episodes, and what ends up happening is Isaac has created this big quantum machine, and they're like, this could be messing with time, and it's like a really big invention, and they hit like, what would you call it, space debris?
They hit a just a wave of energy that's running through space. Which, you know, solar flares, there's all sorts of stuff just bumping around. Space isn't empty. That's like the thing astronomers will tell you. They hit this wave, which causes a surge, which triggers the device that Isaac has created, which, for reasons that I have not... For reasons of convenience, happens to pull one person... Oh, wait, no, they explained that. My bad. They explain exactly why this happens. Kelly of the past, from like 7 years ago...
7 years ago, comes
pops
back.
right on board the station.
And the ship. And the reason for it is Kelly just happened to be thinking about her first date with Ed because Ed was like, please get back together with me. I want to be with you again.
The ongoing drama.
Yep, the ongoing relationship drama that they have where he still wants to be with her. So she was thinking of that, and go figure, the Kelly that comes here had just had her first date with Ed. So it gets into this interesting little drama where they don't know how to send her back. And, you know, the ramifications of, does this mean that this is a new timeline? Are we sending her back to our past?
And the whole time, and Ed goes through this thing where he's like, oh, I want to totally try dating her because she's still, she wants my D. Like, this one wants me.
Yep, and I want to make up for all the problems I did in the past, so I'm totally going to date her now. And Kelly's like, that's not cool, but okay, whatever, I guess. And there's that interesting relationship that they have for a little while until, like, he's like, you know, this doesn't feel right. And I feel like as the audience, we all go, duh. You're not the same person. You've had this relationship.
We learned this lesson a few episodes ago. Unfortunately, despite deciding, yes, we can wipe her mind, we can send her back, we can preserve the timelines, someone doesn't learn their lesson. And that, of course, who would have thought, is not yet Commander Kelly. Because the mind wipe doesn't work on her, for reasons that come up in the following episode. So when they send her back,
she rejects.
Ed calls, and she's like, ha! No.
No. And that leads to a very interesting timeline.
Split. Where the Kalon win. Because nothing about the Orville happens. Because it turns out, and this, like, I'm surprised there wasn't a bigger joke about it. Oh yeah, the only reason Ed got the Orville was because Kelly felt bad.
Felt bad, yeah. That's literally the only reason.
I felt bad for you, so I got you that command.
Because he says, "Oh, it would have taken me 1 more year to get command of a ship," and I'm like, "Yeah, right, Ed."
7 years later.
Like, it's definitely because of Kelly that you even have that job. And it turns out just because, and like that ends up being the correct move, because without Ed on the Orville, apparently that commander of the new Orville in the new timeline doesn't know how to deal with a Kaelon attack.
And Isaac wrecks stuff.
Yep, and
so they have to go through this really long,
convoluted
plot to correct the mistake. They have to get all the stuff back together. They got to correct the protein deficiency in Kelly's brain.
Yeah, that's
the protein deficiency.
That's literally their work.
Kelly, do you even lift? Do the mind wipe and send her back. Well, actually, no, they don't send Kelly back. I'm sorry.
No. They
have to send Claire back.
Claire back to do the mind wipe.
Who will correct the protein synthesis and do the mind wipe.
Yep. And then
Claire gets long hair.
Yeah, she does get long hair.
They still take children on the away missions for reasons I can't fathom.
Because they can.
Just because they can.
And
Alara shows back up briefly. Pull in kind of like what they did in The Next Generation with that one lieutenant who was also sleeping with a robot.
Well, I mean, I think I'm going to go a little off tangent here. There's a lot of stuff that happened in this last season and in seasons prior where you can tell that Orville is poking fun at Discovery.
A little bit.
And I noticed that with the time travel thing, because if you're not caught up on Star Trek Discovery, I'm only going to spoil like the fact that there's time travel, and it's really messing not just with Discovery, it's messing with like TOS and some of the other ones. Just it's messing with so much of that timeline. It's insane, and I feel like Orville did this timeline loop just to prove that you can do it and not mess with the whole continuity of your own show.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they did something like that. Like the whole plot with Ed and the enemy female relationship where she dresses up like a human is a whole diss on the whole
Ed's
Klingon
had sex with at least 2 species as well. All right, well, I mean, like, so we get to the end of the episode, it works, everything's back, the long-hair Claire disappears, and the timeline's fixed.
The timeline's fixed.
The moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are the sum of all of our experiences, good and bad.
Good and bad, yep.
Boom, mic drop. So, what are we looking forward to in Season 2? Or, sorry, Season 3.
Season 2 already happened.
I'm an idiot. So, Season 3, what do we expect to start happening? I think that... We're going to see Kaelon come back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm expecting more of a intergalactic clash against the Kaelon, because they are right now the biggest threat to any biological.
Yeah. The question in my mind is whether it's going to be the confrontation with Kaelon is like the culmination of the season, or whether it's going to be something like what has already happened with the... Wow, what's their name? The other antagonist species
I couldn't remember it either.
The ones that look like Borg, kind of like a mixture of the Borg and those aliens from Galaxy Quest put together.
I mean, I know that their god is named after a car rental company, Avis. Avis, that's what it is. That's what their god is named after.
I think they'll come back because they didn't really show up at all. I mean, they were there obviously briefly for the climactic battle, which was actually really cool. As TV animated battles go.
I mean, I feel like they have to come back to be able to mend the really right now they're only allies because of the Kaelon.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like they have to kind of smooth that relationship over somehow, and maybe because the one thing I always liked about that particular race is they still believe in a god, and they believe in manifest destiny, and I'm just curious to know how a culture that's that advanced is still doing things that the other cultures clearly don't.
I mean, the Kaelon have their own manifestation of Manifest Destiny.
Well, yeah, but that one's more explained because they feel they are higher and all this other stuff. Yeah. Like, they explain it in a different episode from the first season where they had that one planet that, like, every time it would appear, like, a decade would pass. And Kelly was the god of it for the longest time.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually they're like, oh, yeah, we've learned from our mistakes. We understand that, like, a higher power really isn't like that, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I mean, like, we don't know the full extent of how religion manifests itself across the Federation. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I mean, like, certainly they're like... The Orville isn't, like, dodging tropes here. Like, these are, like, the standbys when it comes to the sci-fi universe, because, you know, you have... I feel like Moclans are kind of a mesh of, like, Vulcans and the Klingons.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They only flirt with being fully antagonistic towards the Federation, but they feel, like, semi-outside of it. Mm-hmm. They have the biggest fleet, the most powerful weapons... They have that kind of aloofness that you get from that you would expect from Vulcan culture, but then again, they also have a super xenophobic culture in some ways. Like they're tilting towards cooperation, but they also have these like legacy tendencies towards like against females, among other things.
I mean,
Then you have the other antagonist race that's just slipping my mind at the moment, who represents a lot of things, but they represent that kind of jihadist spirit that you see in generic space antagonists. It's like it's this super militant, driven species that feels that their way is the way, and the way of others is to submit to their way by dying.
And speaking about that, for me, it's like we're probably going to get maybe some more of them. I really hope so, because they were played up as a big antagonist, and it's been so long since we've even heard their race that it's like we're both blanking on the name. Because Kaylon became the biggest antagonist now.
So, interesting. Since, I don't want to derail what we're already talking about, but I just realized there was another point of like an episode that actually is kind of important that we didn't highlight, and that's the one that deals with them negotiating the peace treaty. Mm-hmm. And that's where Gordon gets involved with an old friend who turns out to be a terrorist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
And I mean, it was interesting for me to watch the dynamic of their diplomacy, given their predilections.
I think my favorite part is stalling them and doing all the security checks. That Tala starts, yep, it's like, okay, I guess there's one more. I don't know. I really like that episode for certain reasons. I just, it gets really scary when you think if the Orville wasn't ready to jump at Gordon's notice, Gordon could have been pretty much suicide killed by that guy.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that they show that militantism can still be manifested in the human species, which is otherwise the main protagonist species of the show. It's not a universe where humans are free of fault.
And they also showed a new species, I forget what they called it, because they only show up in that one episode. The ones that their blood is explosive if hit with nitrogen-rich.
So yeah, we don't talk to them much. They're
banned.
They're known to blow up on you. Okay, I'm sorry. So that was a small deviation from the rest of the discussion, because the video is getting much longer than I anticipated. Yeah. What else might we see in season 3?
Moclans.
Well,
I think
we got a lot of Moclans this season. I don't know if we need more Moclans.
I think we're gonna get more Moclans.
Only if it's Moclan porn. I want more Moclan porn.
I don't know about you, but I've grown quite attached to Bortus.
Oh, I hope Bortus just kills Clyden. Clyden's starting to annoy me.
Clyden is starting to annoy the hell out of me. I hope that they can have a divorce where Bortus doesn't end up in prison. I mean, at least I hope we'll see more female Moclans and them exploring how female Moclans have been.
I think we'll drop that for the time being. Because they'll just end up running into the problem that we already discussed, which is, how does this evolutionary predisposition even work in Moclan's biology? No, I think that they've more or less resolved that for the time being. I mean, they might mention it, but I don't think it would even necessarily be a good idea to bring that back as a major plot point, because that they've already hashed it out. There's other stuff in the universe for them to do. Here's a question: do you think that they'll bring in another species, like following the trajectory of Star Trek? You know how they kind of like roll out this new pseudo antagonist species every time there's a new Star Trek? Is there going to be another one?
I don't think so. I think
something to give the Kalons and the jihadists and the Mocklins all common cause with humanity, to bring them all together like the Dominion.
No. I think the Kalon is that race already that's going to bring everybody else together to fight against, because we're talking AIs.
But I want Space Rome. Space Rome is greatest of generic trope species. Space Rome with space Spartans.
I think whatever Orville does, they're going to surprise us. They're going to make us laugh. They might even make us cry, because there have been some episodes where I've cried.
We've gotten some big Discovery fans even to say that, oh yeah, compared to Orville's doing better.
Yeah, and I just hope they keep doing a great work with it. Like, it's just been getting better. Every single episode I've watched is just, like, enthralled me into the season, so... There
weren't any downer episodes that I can think of. Like, ones that I would have just written off entirely as, like, boring.
No.
Then again, maybe I'm just forgetting. I don't know. But no, there was a surprising number of high hop episodes.
I mean, considering how long we've been talking about it... Yeah, there's a reason why we're spending so much time on Orville, because everything in Season 2 was really, really good. Really funny. Really exploratory about a lot of things, and I don't know, I really liked it. They're really intelligent in the way that they write their stories, so.
And that's that, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're done talking for now. So, we'll see you next time.
Do you have to pee?
No, I was just... fan service! We'll see you Monday for Last Week in Geek. Until then, this has been Mr. Panda and Roxstar from Mainly Battleships, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye!